is happening, people? It is Brian Alsruhe with NEVERsate.com, and today we're gonna talk about the front squat, because front squats are important. And I know some of you are still looking for more training footage between Juju Fu and I from when he came and visited my gym for that collaboration, and I was gonna make that video. However, Tom and Juju already put out a video with all the training footage that is 10,000 times better than anything I would have put out. So if you guys wanna check that out, I will leave a link above. Go check that out. Subscribe to his channel while you're there. Just an amazing guy, an amazing athlete, terrific people. Go subscribe. Now back to the front squat. The front squat is very, very important for a lot of different reasons. Number one, it's gonna make your overhead press skyrocket. It's gonna make your regular squat go up better. And I actually think there's more athletic carryover from the front squat to any athletic endeavor than there is to the back squat. And on top of that, you're working a lot of other muscles that you don't work on the back squat quite as well or as effectively. It helps your speed off the floor on your deadlift. There's really absolutely no reason not to be doing the front squat, but I know a lot of people do not do them because they say they can't get in the front rack position, and I feel you, I understand. But that's not really an excuse. All right, so on a traditional front squat, you get in your typical front rack position, which basically means the bar is sitting on top of your shoulders. It is not in your hands. If the bar is in your hands, you are leaving a lot of pounds out there, and it's 20 times heavier than it would be if you have some biomechanical support and some bone structure underneath of it. So make sure you get the bar on your shoulders. If you can't get the bar on your shoulders with your hands wrapped around the bar, kick down to 2 fingers. Do whatever you need to do, get to this position. Your hands are almost like outriggers on a canoe that will create balance and stability, which is never more important than when you're lifting heavy things. But let's just go ahead and say you can't get in that position. Then you can do the arms crossed in front of you. Same thing, bar is sitting on top of your bone structure, but your arms are crossed in front of you so you don't need to get in this super uncomfortable front rack position. You're definitely less stable because more of the weight is balanced on a smaller point where your shoulders is close. You don't have these to help balance. So this is not quite as stable, but it's as necessary if you cannot get in the front rack position. But out of all of your options on doing the front squat, I would probably say that is the least stable. A better option, if you have straps, is take the straps and literally undo it, right? Take it off your hand, stick it just like this, like a normal strap, and then where it would normally go through the loop, you put it through the loop, and now it's tied to the bar. Science. But once you do have both straps tied off on the bar, all I want you to do is take them like this, hold them in your hands, wrap them around the back of your hand so that your hand gets as tight to that bar as possible. From there, you get underneath, stand up, and now the bar can stay on your shoulders with a little bit of balance outside. You're holding on the straps, which isn't as secure as if you're in a traditional front rack position, but you gotta do what you gotta do. This is a better option than crossing your arms, in my opinion. And then finally, if you were lucky enough to have an SSB bar at your gym, number one, good job picking a gym. And number two, this is probably my second favorite variation of the front squat if you cannot get in a traditional front rack position. Now, with the SSB, you actually need to turn around backwards because the weight is gonna sit differently. Where you would typically, the handles always point away from you when you have an SSB bar. If your handles are pointing towards you, you're doing it wrong, the bar's upside down, you need to flip that thing around. But you do want it backwards if you're gonna do a front squat, because what you're gonna do is take the handles, swing them all the way up, put your body in between, and then when you're here, now the bar literally is fighting its way back onto you, so you don't even need hands for this, all right? Typically, I will stick my hands in front just so it's a little bit easier, a little more balance, I have a little more control over the bar, but you don't even need it. The weight is literally forcing down on your shoulders. This is a terrific way to do front squats, especially Paul's front squats on a box. It will do a ton to help your squat, your deadlift, your overhead press, your life, your soul, and your personality. So now, sir, you have no excuse of why you can't do front squats. All right, so now we're gonna get into 3 tips that have helped my front squat a lot, that will hopefully help your front squat a lot, and the first one has to do with mobility. So I'm gonna take you guys through the mobility drills that I do before my front squat, because if you're gonna move anything heavy from a front squat movement, you're gonna need loose shoulders, loose wrists, loose ankles, and loose hips. So I'm gonna take you through the typical warm-up that I do prior to doing my front squats. So we're actually gonna start from the bottom and work our way up. The way that I do this is I take a 45-pound plate and I throw it down on the ground that's a decent amount of distance away from the rack. And then number 2, I take an average band and I tie it off the bottom. Then I step out and I wrap that band around the tongue of my shoe, and then I simply just put the ball of my foot on top of the plate, and then I work my knee through all different ranges of motion. This does a lot of things to help break up any adhesions that I have inside of my ankle. It gets me prepared to work, as well as just trying to warm up my ankles so that when I drop down into that front squat position, I can stay more upright as opposed to bent over, which tight ankles will usually do. And if you bend over in the front squat, you know as well as I do, you're not going anywhere with that bar. From there, I keep the band where it is and I wrap it around my upper thigh, and then I walk out and I start lunging into the movement. From there, I actually turn to the side so that the band starts distracting my leg outward. It starts pulling on my groin, pulling on the inside of my hamstring, on the inside of my quad, so that I can start getting those muscles warmed up enough so that they're nice and loose so that I can stay as upright as possible when I start to descend on my front squat. Once I've done that, I take a lightly loaded barbell, I deadlift it up, then I place it on top of my knees, and then I just rock back and forth, forward, backward, side to side. I try to twist a little bit. Again, this is just breaking up anything that might be going on the side of my ankles so that it does not take away from any weight that I may potentially get within this workout on the front squat. From there, I move the band up a little bit, about halfway up the rack. I tie it off on my wrist, and then I turn around and I start stretching out my shoulder. Now, it's very important to keep your elbow pointed straight forward. All that I'm doing is walking my way out, so it starts pulling on my tricep, pulling on my shoulder, and then I'm gonna force against it as hard as possible for about 5 to 10 seconds, and then I'm gonna release it, and that's gonna allow me to stretch a little bit further. Basically, all you're trying to do is break up your shoulders so you can get those elbows as high as possible, which is gonna keep that bar on top of your shoulders, which is the most important thing in that front squat movement. And finally, I finish off my wrists. So I do some of these. And then all I do is find a straight line on the floor, and I kneel down, and I try to turn my hands completely backwards, placing the heel of my hand on that line. Now, once it's there, this is extremely painful, so be careful, but you wanna start sitting back on your heels a little bit, and you will get an amazing stretch in your forearms and your wrists. You hold that position for as long as desired, and then you want to start trying to work your hands even further backwards so you can get even more wrist mobility, which is gonna be really important for that front rack position. So that is tip number one. Make sure that you're prepared and mobile for your front squats. You need to mobilize what needs to be mobilized, you need to stabilize what needs to be stabilized, and that is never more true than in a big, heavy front squat. The second tip is here to combat two things that I see a lot of people do wrong on the front squat. The first one is going to be keeping your chin up. A lot of coaches even cue people to keep their chin up in the front squat, and that could not be more wrong. You want your chin down. The reason why is because your anterior delt, your front delt, creates a little bit of pocket, and that's what the bar sits behind. If the bar is not slammed up against your throat behind the pocket on your anterior delt, then the bar is not close enough to the center line of your body. Yes, it is extremely uncomfortable and makes you feel like you're gonna pass out, but that is where the bar needs to be. Yes, I'm aware it sucks. But in order to make that happen, when you line up on the barbell, it is gonna be very important to raise your chin, to get that bar slammed up against your throat as far as possible, and digging your arms under as deep as you possibly can, because the bigger bite that you have with that bar on your shoulder, behind your rear delt, the more likely it is to stay on your shoulder throughout the entire rep. A lot of people, when they start coming up, they start leaning forward and that bar just slips off their shoulders, which be completely remedied if they would just drop their chin. A lot of people will spike their chin straight up, and when your chin comes up, your shoulders drop down and your elbows drop down, which is the opposite of what you want to do for a front rack position. For this reason, once you get your position underneath the bar and you brought your chin up, before you unrack it, I want you to lower your chin back down and keep your eyes straight forward. If you just do this on your own right now, you'll notice that when you drop your chin, you're able to drive your elbows higher, and if you feel up here on your anterior delt, you will feel the little pocket behind your front delt, and that is exactly where that bar is gonna sit and stay. But if you raise your chin up, you will feel that thing start to slope, which is the opposite of where you want that bar to go in the middle of a heavy front squat. The second part of tip number two is to flex your butt once you have that bar walked out. So you get a big belly breath, you get your chin in position, you stand up like you mean it, then you walk the bar out. You do not release that breath until your butt is flexed. There are tons and tons and tons of videos online of people passing out during their front squat, and the reason why is because their posterior chain wasn't fired up and it wasn't linked in. The only way to do that is to flex your butt, which will, number one, make your squat much stronger, but number two, will take a lot of that wooziness away when you get underneath a heavy front squat, because if you have ever done anything above like 400 pounds, you will know that you will go to Sleepy Town very, very fast. Sleepy Town. All right, so now you're all mobile and you have your chin in a good position and your butt is flexed. Now, once you're out there and you're all set, ready to go, I want you to push your knees out to descend. I know a lot of people have been taught to push their butt back on any type of squat, but you cannot do that on front squat, because if your butt goes back, then that bar is gonna come forward and you're gonna lose it. So for that reason, you can stay much more upright if you initiate descent by pushing your knees outward. Just keep pushing them out like you're a pregnant woman who's trying to sit down and create enough space between your legs to receive a big belly. That's essentially what you're doing. You're taking a load that is in the front of you and you're creating space for your body to go. If you push your butt back, that bar is gonna come forward. You wanna continually screw your feet into the ground and keep your knees pushed out, because the second that your knees bow in whatsoever, if your knees bow in, your butt shoots back, and on a front squat, if your butt shoots back at all, then you're gonna lose that thing. There's no way you're gonna hold on to it. So for your descent, you wanna keep pushing your knees out. If you need to go any lower, just push them out further. You will continue to drop down. Once you hit parallel, reverse that motion. Do not let those knees collapse. Your elbows should be driving up, your chin should still be down, and you will get that front squat. Congratulations on the PR, man. I am very, very proud of you. And with all things front squat related, I think there are two very important things to focus on. Number one is your breathing and bracing, because if your core collapses, if your can't dense at all, you're gonna miss the lift. And number two is your elbow position. So as you're descending, a lot of people allow their elbows to drop because everything is going down. Your mind's saying down, 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 down. You need to get down there, and so your elbows drop. And you need to kind of do like a rub your head, pat your stomach, pat your head, rub your stomach, I don't know. But you definitely have some conflicting things going on there with your chest and your elbows needing to stay up, your brace needs to stay out, your knees staying out, as well as dropping out, and your whole body moving up and down through this range of motion. But focus on your brace and your legs will take care of themselves. Anyway guys, that is it for me today. I get on a plane tomorrow to leave for Nationals. Should be pretty excited. And no, I still have absolutely no idea whether I'm gonna compete or not. I suppose that should be something that I should figure out. And yes, I still will be writing programs while I am away in Vegas. So if you guys do want a program, I should be all caught up. Unless you bought one within a day or two, you should have it. If you do not have it, make sure you email me, because something has gone terribly wrong, and almost always, that is my fault. It is not your fault. But if you are interested in a program, or if you bought a program and you have not received it and it's been longer than a day or two, then definitely email me. Let me know what's going on and we will figure all that out. And then number three, we are actually releasing new t-shirts. We're gonna try to get them out before Black Friday. And these t-shirts are actually going to be the winner of the logo contest. It's already been announced, he's already won. The t-shirts are already being made. So hopefully you guys will have some new t-shirts, some new hoodies, some new sweatshirts, things like that coming out before Black Friday, which is like November 20 something. Can't believe it's November. But like I said, guys, I am leaving on a plane for Vegas tomorrow for the National Championship, so I'm not really sure when the next time you guys will be catching up with me is. I will definitely get some footage at Nationals to share with you guys, whether I'm competing or just my people competing, but it's completely an experience. So either way, you guys are gonna get a little background information, a little background footage, so it should be pretty cool for you. I don't know when that's gonna happen, but I probably will be catching up with you guys early next week sometime. But until I do, go out, do something amazing, realize, keep working hard, people. Be nice to each other. Be nice, and I'll see you then.